if you're anything like me, you really enjoy craft room tours and getting to see people's organization and how they set up their space. I really love videos of people reorganizing things like bookshelves and different creative spaces to see how they tackle storage and practicality. Well, this isn't one of those videos. I am incredibly lucky to have my own set space and even just have a table to be able to do crafting for cosplay projects, and also to have my own space to film and have room and space for lights. However, as grateful as I am for this space, I'm terrible at keeping it clean. But something about this space just creates chaos. It's hard to clean as you go when you're working on something like the cosplay I'm working on at the moment, which I've been working on for like over a year at this point. And so there's very rarely like a time where I'm like, okay, I'm done with this thing, I can pack it away. I kind of constantly need everything. One thing that nobody warned me about when I started learning to sew so I could make this cosplay was how much of a mess sewing is. There are just threads and bits of fabric and glitter everywhere. I am working with a glitter chiffon. My hands are constantly covered in glitter. But today I thought I would combine two activities into one. I'm going to be giving you a tour of both the crafting space and the filming space, and we are also going to clean up everything together. I feel like the internet needs a little bit of realism, and to see that these spaces aren't always tidy. Sometimes they're just a bit of a chaotic mess. So I'm thinking I'll give you an overview of the filming space, since that's somewhat intact at the moment. And then I will start cleaning off this table and then tidying up the shelving, and you will see it as I clean it. Let's go! Okay, so this is what the filming space looks like at the moment. I just filmed the Monica monologue video, so I had the setup done that I had the lights going across the table here. I am an expert at navigating cables. So this table is normally leant up against the wall here, and it houses all of this stuff, which is stuff that I don't know where to put it, and half-completed cosplay props. I made a pair of wings for the Homura cosplay and then decided they weren't good enough. And now I'm just kind of hanging on to them until I remake the wings and scrap them for parts. That is also an abandoned Bulbasaur cosplay. We're not going to talk about it. So this is the backdrop where most cosplay related videos get filmed. So I changed it either to black to white. I'm pretty sure that I may have left some things on the wall behind actually. Yeah, I kind of forgot that I still left all of this up from the Yuri videos, so now there's just bloodstained poetry on the walls. And then this is the backdrop you get for my outer cosplay videos, which is just very aesthetic, leaves and books and candles and a gun from a dollar store. On these lower shelves are the boxes for like a lot of spare tripods and backdrop parts and things like that, and also Halloween props that come out once a year. Also in this corner we have a phone tripod, the bag for my ring light, and these paper backdrops for photography, which I think I've used maybe twice. They are really good. The problem is they're just a lot of hard work to set up on my own, especially when I'm in cosplay and already sweaty. So, in terms of cleaning up, I'm gonna shift the table back, put my rubbish back on the table, maybe sort through it a little bit. If I am bothered, maybe I will take the poetry off the walls, but it's kind of not hurting anyone there. The floor space here for sewing at the moment. Yeah, that's my dress that I'm making. I threw it on the floor last night. I'd rather have it like laid out properly on the floor here. So let's get to doing that. Okay, so this is the space a little more cleaned up. That is project laid out. Table back in order. Now we just have to tackle this. I genuinely think it's going to be easy to actually show you things when it's cleaned up, because I don't actually know what half of this is. I have this big mess of fabric here. Initially I had a bag for like small scraps that was going to turn into stuffing, and now it's just turned into, anytime I have fabric I cut, I throw it over this direction. So I need to organize this. This can stay because that's what I'm working on at the moment. And then this pile here also needs to be cleaned up. It's not too much to do. A lot of it's just going to be taking a lot of this stuff and putting it back on the trolley here. I use the top of this trolley to put things that like I reach for quite a lot. I've developed the habit of just putting them on the table though, and then forgetting where I put them and spending 10 minutes trying to find them again. Honestly, all this is just putting it back in the shelves and not just on the floor, and also refolding a lot of the fabric that I just shoved in there instead of folding. And then I'll give you a little tour of this space and show you what I got going on. I tried to order half a meter of this off AliExpress, and this is how much I got, and it's a pain in the neck to store. The space is clear. I loosely vacuum the floor. It's a step up from what it was. Now I've got space to work, I've got space to sew, and now I can give you a little tour. So let me start off by showing you the stuff that I do consistently keep on the table. Obviously, sewing machine. I kind of have two chairs set up. Usually if I'm doing sewing work, I'll like pin or cut if it's small enough over here, and then sew here. If it's too big to cut on there, then it gets cut on the floor. This is the sewing box. It's got all the basics in there, and then there's another layer under here, so that kind of stays on the table. This bucket stays here because occasionally the roof leaks here, but it doesn't always do it. And this is the bag of scraps that'll eventually get used just for, you know, scrap purposes. Also the iron, just because it's kind of big, and I have got another spare one over there as well. A little tour of the trolley. The top looks like a mess right now, but either this is a mess or the table is a mess, so I'll take this. Things that take up the most room, the heat gun and the hot glue gun. I'm not using these much at the moment because I'm doing more fabric work than I am like EVA foam work, which is why there's a lot of sewing stuff on here, including like cutting, needles, chalk, measuring tape. Then on this shelf I have pieces that are going to be used for the cosplay I'm working on. There's a lot of purple in here, and this is for a cosplay that is on hold and eventually I will come back to once this one is done. I do recommend getting one of these just because it's easy to move around depending on what side of the table I am working on. And I can kind of like swap out the shelves to fit the things that I have in rotation depending on what I'm working on. I also have this basket here which I keep all my big pieces of EVA foam in. Like they kind of look a mess, but that's because they've had things cut off of them, but they are still rolls. Also like dowels, things, a lot of like long things like floristry wire and that. Here we have the dress mannequin, which is almost essential for this project I'm working on. And now over to the shelves. These look like a mess. This is the organized version of them, trust me. Welcome to shelves. Some of this stuff further down is more just storage stuff. This room is also just used as a storage space, hence what all those bookshelves you could see earlier are. There are some paints that I keep in here. A lot of them are quite old and dried up, and then there's some newer ones. I'm a big fan of getting the cheapest $3 paint that you can for like black and white, because honestly for most things you do not need fancy paint. We've got paints, we've got like rags in here, which I don't use too often, but it is handy to have around. Quite a lot of things are from my mum, who used to do craft classes and is still quite a crafty person, and so a lot of things that she doesn't use as much but maybe potentially I'd use are gifted to be down here from her. So in this drawer here we have chemicals. This, aside from a few paintbrushes that are in here that are my like regular rotation paintbrushes, we mostly have glues and sprays. So we've got like general tacky glue, fabric glue, like sealants and spray adhesives. Big tub of contact cement. I haven't had to open this in a while. Still opens. I shouldn't breathe that in though, that is a bad idea. Mod Podge and Plasti Dip, the cosplay priming essentials. I'm still kind of getting the hang of priming EVA foam. I feel like that's definitely the hardest thing to learn how to do with EVA foam, because like if you don't seal it properly or prime it properly and you paint it, no matter how much work you put into it, it looks bad. But there's so many different methods on priming EVA foam. There's also a biohazard in here known as glitter. I sealed this glitter in the 2 bags it came in and a Ziploc bag. I'm scared of this. Tucked in here I also have the board. This is just a craft foam board, and that's what I always put things on to spray things outside. It's got quite a few shapes and textures on there. So that's what's kept in this cubby. Across in these bottom 2 are the fabrics that I'm currently using for my current cosplay of Homura. I have one bag which I just made for all my big pieces of scraps from cutting, and then a bag that has like the remaining fabrics that I'm using. This shoebox here, which is just a mess. In this one and this one, it's all supposed to be scrap materials that I'm going to use in future. This box is more scrappy scraps. This box is more things that I can reuse for cosplay, different materials I've sort of collected. And also rolls of duct tape. There's a few things that really don't belong in here. I think I just stuck this thing of glow sticks in here because I didn't know where else to put them. But things that kind of showcase what does go in here. We have wire, a headband, which I'm going to use to make a headpiece, some ribbon. I also have a habit of, when clothes come with spare buttons, just collecting the buttons. This is more like the scrap side of things. This is a zipper that got torn off a costume. I've also got like some scrap leather in here from a thrifted belt that I used part of for a cosplay. And also some boning for sewing. This shoebox, I don't think we're gonna open. This is all, yeah, scrappy scraps. More fabric scraps from previous projects, not just the one I'm working on. Or bits of wire that I've cut off that if I need a small piece of wire I could get. I have a hard time throwing things away with cosplay, but also I do genuinely use like scraps and little torn off bits as much as possible. In here I've got a sleeve with EVA foam pieces that are still big enough to make something out of more just small details. So I always reach for in here when I'm making something first before I go for my big rolls to check if it fits on any of these pieces. This was from a box. This is like a thing of chocolates that was supposed to be like a wine bottle. And I kept it because if I cosplay from The Last of Us, I can use it to make like a bottle prop. I'm just like a little dragon that just wants to hoard like things that I can use. I just like to keep my scraps. Down in here, we have a big container of threads. It's very rare I've had to buy my own thread. My mum has a very decent collection of threads in here. Which is very handy for cosplay sewing, which involves a lot of random colors. This section here I'm not going to touch because it'll all fall out. I've got scrap cardboard there. I use cardboard a surprising amount for cosplay, and I find it very handy to have just to like sketch something out or use as a base inside something. So I keep a healthy stash of cardboard here. This cubby here is for all of my general fabrics or things that I could use to recycle. There's like an old t-shirt in there. Some of these fabrics are quite old. Like this fabric here, I bought this to make a Rey cosplay from Star Wars, which is one of the first ever cosplays I did before like I ever really like called myself a cosplayer. And it was rough, and I still have the fabric for it, and I still use it to make bandages when I've had to. But yeah, I've got quite a few fabrics in there that are very good for making like mock-ups and patterns, or a lot of how I learned to sew is by just experimenting on scrap fabric, trying to replicate how it would work before I do it on my actual fabric. Up here there's a lot of mats. We have like these flimsy sort of craft mats which are great for paint and glues because you just like rub at them with like dry paper towel and it all comes off. Lastly, I have this up there which is like a small ironing board. And then it also folds out to be a cutting mat inside and stuff, which is very good for small spaces. It's definitely handy to have some sort of block that I can iron on so I don't have to like go up into the house to iron things for sewing, because sewing requires a lot of ironing. I do recommend getting one of these if you're like short on space. I won't recommend getting one that's black. This gets really, really hot when you're ironing on it and you have to watch your hands on it. And that, friends, concludes a tour of my crafting space and filming space. Thank you very much for watching this video. I know it's sort of outside of what I usually do for cosplay content, but I want to try and do a little bit of in-character cosplay stuff and just talking about like kind of behind the scenes of cosplay as well. If you did enjoy this type of content and you want to make sure that you can see more of it, make sure you give the video a like so that I know this is something that people want to see a lot more of. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss any exciting upcoming content. I also have some older videos that I reckon you'll really like, so make sure you stick around to the end screen so I can recommend those for you. Thank you very much for your attention, your time, and your support. See you in the next one. Bye!